Somewhere in the fog of 9th century Wales, a king died twice. Not literally, but on paper, in the surviving records, where two different death dates were written down for a ruler named Meurig. For over 1,000 years, historians have argued about which one belongs to him. This is the story of Meurig of Arthfael, a king whose life survives only in fragments of parchment and whose true legacy has almost been erased by time. To understand Meurig, you first have to understand the world he ruled. In the 7th century, southeast Wales was united under a single kingdom called Gwent. But by the time Meurig came to power, that unity had fractured. The land was now split between Glywysing, later known as Glamorgan, and a smaller Gwent, roughly matching modern Monmouthshire. Historians still debate exactly how these territories related to one another. Thomas Charles Edwards, a leading historian of early Wales, believes Glywysing and Gwent were genuinely separate, with Glywysing's ruler acting as an overking. Davies disagrees, arguing the old kingdom likely stayed intact under the new name Glywysing. Patrick Sims-Williams suggests both views might simply describe the same reality from different angles. Even the basic map of Meurig's world remains contested territory among scholars today. Before Meurig, the historical trail goes cold. His likely predecessor, a king named Arthfael of Davies, was killed in battle in the year 848, apparently the last of his royal line. Frustratingly, the Book of Llandaff, our main source, has a gap of roughly 50 years in its charters right before Meurig's reign begins. Almost nothing is recorded about the kings who came immediately before him. According to the Harleian genealogy, an old Welsh record preserved in the Harleian Library, Meurig was the son of Arthfael ap Rhys. He emerged as king around the year 848, stepping into the vacuum left by Arthfael's death. Davies dates his reign to roughly 848 through 874, a span of over 2 decades ruling in a turbulent corner of early medieval Britain. But what exactly did Meurig rule? Davies and Charles Edwards argue he governed both Glywysing and Gwent as an overking. Charles Edwards even suggests Meurig and his brother, Rhys of Arthfael, may have ruled Glywysing one after the other. Sims-Williams pushes back hard, claiming the one charter placing Meurig in Glywysing was later tampered with, and that his real power never extended beyond smaller Gwent at all. Whatever the truth, Meurig's sons, Arthfael and Fernfael, inherited a lesser position. Records show they ruled only Gwent, not the wider territory their father may have controlled. They were also subordinate to their cousin, Arthfael ap Rhys, who held the higher status kingdom of Glywysing. The family tree tells a story of shifting power between cousins competing for status across generations. Remarkably, Meurig's family is confirmed by a source completely outside Wales. Asser, the biographer of Alfred the Great, writing in the year 893, mentions Arthfael and Fernfael by name, describing them as sons of Meurig and kings of Gwent. This outside confirmation matters enormously, because it proves these were real historical figures, not just names invented later inside a monastery's questionable paperwork. That questionable paperwork is the Book of Llandaff, compiled in the 12th century, centuries after Meurig lived. For generations, historians dismissed the entire book as worthless forgery, a monastery inventing land claims to boost its own wealth. That changed in the 1970s, when Davies painstakingly reappraised the charters. Some were indeed fake, she found, but others held genuine historical kernels buried inside them. Even so, using these charters is treacherous work. None of them carry dates. Several different kings named Meurig appear across the collection, and it's often unclear which Meurig a given document actually refers to. Piecing together one man's reign means carefully comparing witness lists, land grants, and family names scattered across dozens of undated, sometimes contradictory documents. Despite the confusion, one theme stands out clearly in Meurig's own charters. Around the year 850, 2 documents record that he ordered all churches to be released from obligations owed to laymen. In an age when local nobles routinely seized church property and income, this was a striking act of protection, an attempt to shield religious institutions from the powerful men around him. Davies describes the wider picture painted by the Llandaff charters as one of lawlessness, where royal power was often used arbitrarily by whoever held it. Against that backdrop, She singles out Meurig as one of the few kings who genuinely tried to guarantee the church's freedom from abuse. It did not fully work. Grants transferring church ownership continued for centuries afterward, but the attempt itself set him apart. The surviving charters also preserve small, human details of land changing hands. In one, a woman named Fow gave the church of Silpadec, modern Kilpec, along with its land, to Bishop Gratielus, with Meurig guaranteeing the grant. In another, a man called Quincum returned the church of Meurig, possibly Little Dew Church, back to the same bishop. These are glimpses of ordinary transactions from an otherwise silent century. Around the year 868, Meurig himself made a direct grant, surrendering the church at Trileg to Bishop Saranor. Medieval Welsh kings controlled vast landed estates, and gestures like this reveal how closely political power and religious authority were intertwined. Every grant recorded in the Book of Llandaff was also, quietly, a statement about who truly held control over the land and its people. Not every record agrees, though. Around the year 860, one charter says Meurig consented to a grant of Llan Mocha, or St. Mons, to Archbishop Difrig's church. But a second surviving version of the very same charter gives a different bishop, a different place name, and different witnesses entirely. Historians still cannot say for certain which version, if either, reflects what truly happened. And then there is the mystery that opened this story. How did Meurig die? The Annals Cambrii record the deaths of kings named Meurig in both 849 and 874. Charles Edwards leans toward the earlier date. Bartram places his death firmly in 874. Davies argues that the sequence of witnesses named across his charters only makes sense if he lived until 874, ruling for over 2 decades. In the end, Meurig of Arthfael survives history as a puzzle assembled from broken pieces. A genealogy, a handful of undated charters, one foreign biographer's passing mention, and centuries of careful, argumentative scholarship. He was, by the evidence available, a king who tried to protect churches from the lawlessness of his age, ruling territory whose very borders remain disputed. His story is a reminder that history is rarely handed to us whole. It has to be painstakingly rebuilt. If stories like this, the quiet detective work behind forgotten kings and fragile medieval records, fascinate you, there is far more hidden in the archives of early Britain waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe to join us as we keep digging through the gaps in history, one contested charter at a time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.